we'll get started. We'd like to welcome Rory McIlroy into the interview room, making his 9th career start at the Arnold Palmer Invitational presented by MasterCard, and our 2018 champion. Rory, welcome back to Bay Hill. If we can get some comments on being here this week.
Thank you. Great to be back. Nice to, not that I don't enjoy the West Coast, but it's nice to be back on the East Coast and get back to some, I guess, sort of familiar greens. I felt like I played pretty well from tee to green at Phoenix and LA, but just really couldn't get anything going on the greens. So nice to get back to some familiar Bermuda over the next few weeks. And but yeah, it took me a while to play this tournament at the start of my career, but then once I did play, I don't think I've missed a year since. So really enjoy it here. Enjoy the golf course, enjoy the challenge that it provides, and looking forward to the week.
Okay, we'll jump right into questions. Let's go Jeff and then Edgar. Or Ed, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Edgar.
Yeah, hey, Rory. A couple things. One, you've been in a lot of kind of battles for #1 ranking before. How's this one differ? And what do you think of just the whole like back and forth kind of that you, John, and Scotty might have this season?
Yeah, look, as much as it's really nice to be ranked #1, winning golf tournaments, playing well, it sort of takes care of all of that stuff. So I think it's really exciting. If I was, purely a fan of the game and I see what's going on, especially at the top, I think it's a pretty cool thing. I'm not, what the run that Rambo's been on has been phenomenal. Obviously, what Scotty did last year. I've had a nice little run over the last sort of 12 months. So, but like everyone knows, there's so much parity in our game right now that any given week, any given tournament, someone can pop up and sort of put their hand up and claim to be one of the best players in the world. So I'm just happy to be in that conversation, and I just need to keep my head down and keep playing well.
Yeah, the golf course has been a brute in recent years, and you even commented after the third round maybe yesterday about the setup. How do you think it looks having played it today? Yeah,
so the greens already have some firmness to them, which is really good. I mean, I don't mind that at all. The rest of the golf course, I would say, is still sort of soft. But looking at the weather this week, it has the potential. To get a little firmer, especially with the wind that's forecast on Friday. But I don't see it have the potential of sort of what it was like the last couple of years on the weekend, where it felt a little like pinball-y in a way. It feels like a really good shot will hold. You'll be able to hold the fairways a little bit more, just things like that. So course setup looks great right now, and I mean, as I said, I think this year compared to previous years, the fairways are just a touch softer than they have been leading into the tournament, which leads me to believe that it mightn't be as penal. Not as penal, it'll still be penal because the rough's thick, but I just feel like good shots will hopefully get rewarded a little more.
All right, let's go Jeff and then Michael.
Rory, saw Brad Faxon down at the Chubb and was asking about working with you with the putting, which really excites him. What's been the best byproduct of that for you?
Honestly, I think the friendship that Fax and I have developed over the last number of years is probably the best byproduct of it, regardless of if putts go in the hole or if they don't. But, and obviously an added benefit is the fact that I've become a much more consistent putter over the last 5 years that I've worked with Fax. And the one thing with Fax is it frees me up. He allows me not to be perfect. There's been a lot of times where I felt like I've needed to do everything perfect for a putt to go in the hole. And he sort of allowed me that freedom to think like, it doesn't have to be perfect. Your intent has to be really good, and you have to do the right things. But he sort of lets me be me. He coaches people to where they need to go. He doesn't believe in sort of a set way of teaching, and I really appreciate that as well.
And as you start this build up to Augusta, it's 5 weeks from tomorrow, we'll all be at Augusta. What's the significance or importance of going in there with a lot of confidence in your putting?
Oh, I mean, if you can go in there with seeing putts go in the hole and seeing putts go in the hole the correct way. So, leading up to Augusta, a lot of your work on the greens will be more to do with speed. Dropping the ball in the high side of the hole, trying to make these big breaking putts. There's a lot of little fun games that we play. We both don't like to call them drills because that seems like work, and golf is certainly not work. So, play these little fun games on the putting green, trying to hold putts above a coin and below a coin and varying the speed of the way the ball goes in the hole, and just sort of seeing that, because that's the sort of stuff you need to do at Augusta, and just getting more comfortable with that.
All right, let's go Michael and then over to Kathy.
Rory, do you feel like there could be even more team play on the PGA Tour? There's limited play now.
We have a President's Cup every year and a Ryder Cup every year. Obviously, Zurich do their thing in New Orleans. At the end of the day, I think golf is an individual pursuit. I think these team events that are, biannual or annual or whatever it is, I think that's enough for the game.
All right, we'll go to Kathy, and then we'll move over to Mark, and then Bob.
How did you do in yesterday's event down at Seminole?
We finished second. We had a chance, but the air came out of the balloon on 13, where we both made bogey.
Who beat you?
Brendan Todd and Jim Davis, I think, was his partner.
A good day, I guess?
What's that?
A good day, I guess?
A great day, yeah. Any day at Seminole is a good day.
All right, over here, Mark, and then Bob.
Hey, Rory. I'm just curious what your reaction is to this latest PGA Tour scheduling change coming up in 24, and as a follow, is there a concern at all with, the quote-unquote non-stars or rank-and-file guys in terms of not as many opportunities to play and maybe, leaving them on the outside looking in?
So I love it, right? Obviously, I've been a part of it and been in a ton of discussions. I think it makes the tour more competitive. I think we were going that way anyway. You think of the playoffs used to be 125, 70, 30, and obviously this year they've went 70, 50, 30. So I think, I'm all about rewarding good play. I'm certainly not about, I want to give everyone a fair shake at this, which I think this structure has done. There's ways to play into it. There's, it's trying to get the top guys versus the hot guys, right? I think that creates a really compelling product, but a way that you don't have to wait an entire year for your good play to then get the opportunity. That opportunity presents itself straight away. You play well for 2 or 3 weeks, you're in a designated event. Then if you keep playing well, you stay in them. For example, someone like a Chris Kirk last week that wins Honda, he's set. Winning is really important on this tour, and good play and rewarding that. And at the end of the day, I think with, all these designated events and this event schedule, at the end of the day, we're selling a product to people, and the more clarity they have on that product and knowing what they're buying is really important. It's really important for the tour, and I think this solves for that.
What's your take, just as a follow, on the no cut thing? That's kind of a very it's moving from quite a bit of tradition to the game.
We've always had no cut events on this tour. If you think of 4 WGCs, you've got the 3 playoff events, you've got the CJ Cup, the Zozo. So there's precedent there for no cut events. So it's not, the only reason no cuts are not a big deal is because Liv's come along. So there is precedent for no-cut events. There's been no-cut events since I've been a member of the tour, and way beyond that as well. So, yeah, is there maybe going to be a few more of them? Maybe. That's still TBD, by the way. That's not been decided yet. But if we do go down that path, there's precedent there to argue for no-cut events, and it keeps the stars there for 4 days. You ask MasterCard or whoever it is to pay $20 million for a golf event, they want to see the stars at the weekend, and they want to guarantee that the stars are there. So, if that's what needs to happen, then that's what happens.
All right, let's go to Bob and then over to Andrew.
Hey, Rory, over here. I wanted to follow on that. You just sort of answered it, like it's not all been decided exactly. But do you know, Are you looking at all of the designated events that we have this year going to no-cut, shorter fields, or maybe would some of them retain, or are those the things that still need to be decided?
TBD. Obviously the majors and the Players' Championship are going to remain cut events. That's not going to change. And then it's what we do with what's decided with the rest of the events, right? You look at this event, you look at the Memorial, you look at Tiger's event in LA. They've got a ton of history behind them. So is there an argument to say that because of that historical context, we try to keep a cut in those events? Maybe. Like, who knows? Again, that's all to be decided. But again, I will say there's precedent for no-cut events on this tour.
And also, do you see the prize money going up, or are we locked in sort of for a little while with these numbers, 20 million at these big events?
So, I think everyone knows that the majority of the money that comes into the tour is from the media rights deal that the tour negotiated back in 2020. And, the next negotiations coming up aren't that far away. We're into 24 next year. By 2028, there'll be some negotiations starting again. So I feel like what we're doing puts us in a way better position for the next media rights cycle coming up at the end of the 2020s. So that, again, whoever is bidding on them, and obviously the media landscape is changing drastically at the minute, so whether that's NBC, CBS, whoever, or whether it's Apple TV or YouTube or Amazon or whoever it is, that we're in the best possible position to get a better media rights deal so that the prize money goes up again. So, that's where the majority of the money comes from.
Okay, let's go right here, Andrew on the aisle, and then to the back.
What was your process getting into the new TaylorMade driver? I think you switched after the first round.
Right here.
At the Genesis?
Yeah.
So I'm just curious about why you switched mid-event.
I was sick of Tiger out driving me. Partly to do with that. So I played the event in Phoenix and noticed that my spin numbers on my driver were a little low. So then I went to LA and put my driver up at click and loft. But I'm so particular about face angle when it comes to drivers that when I went up at click and loft, obviously I can see a little more face. It looks a little further left to me. And I didn't hit one drive out of the middle of the face the first day at Riv. So I needed to go and try something else, and feel like this Stealth 2 head for me has just got a little more spin on it. So, but at a more neutral, or what I perceive to be a more neutral face angle. I think if other people saw it, they would probably see that it sits slightly open, but to my eye, it sits square. So to me, it was all about face angle. And then, as you said, I hit balls on Thursday night at Riv, started middling that, and started to get way more consistent spin numbers, sort of where in the range that I like. And then I just went with it from there, and actually felt like I drove it pretty good for the final 3 days at Riv, and it's been pretty good in practice over the past week.
Okay, we're going to take a few more. Let's go far back on the right, and then we'll move to Edgar and Jeff.
Hey, Rory. As a native of Rochester, New York, and a former member of Oak Hill Country Club, I'd like to get your thoughts on this year's PGA Championship.
Current member of Oak Hill.
I know.
I'm looking forward to it. I think Andrew Green's done a really good job. I think the renovation has hopefully restored the East Course back to its former glory, I would say. I'm just hoping for a good weather week. I think that's what everyone's hoping for up there in May. But excited to go back to Oak Hill. From the last time I was there, or we were all there, my connection to Rochester's got a lot stronger. So I'm excited to go and play a major championship in what feels like almost like a second home to me.
Okay, we'll go to Edgar.
What was the pairing with CC Sabathia like today? Was that a unique Pro-Am pairing?
It was. He's a big man. So I'm look, I wasn't into baseball that much growing up, but I know that he was a legend of the game, and obviously played for arguably the biggest team in baseball. Some people might argue with me on that, but yeah, pretty cool. I think it's wonderful to get to play with all these former athletes and sort of pick their brain on how they went about trying to master their craft, and feel like you can always pick up little things from them that you can maybe try to cross over into your sport.
Did his size translate to a distance off the tee?
When he connected with it, yeah. Yeah, he needed a little work in his grip, so I tried to help him with that.
All right, Rory, we'll wrap up right here with Jeff.
Pitchers don't have to hit. You said good play will take care of itself in the number one race. But as you look at the guys you're in the tussle with, Scotty and John, what are pieces of those guys or pieces of their games that you admire?
All of it. I mean, I think I love Scotty's attitude. I mean, his attitude, I think, is one of the best out here. I think he's got a wonderful perspective on things. And he does it his own way. He's got his own move, and it's very individual. I mean, you could say the same thing about Rambo. Rambo certainly got his own move and individual. Probably approaches the game a little differently than the way Scotty does, but both ways obviously work for them. The one thing about both of them over the past 12 to 18 months has just been their consistency. They've both been relentless. If it's not a win, they're contending, and very rarely have you seen these guys in the past 12 or 18 months outside of the top 10, top 15, top 20. So just that relentless consistency week after week, month after month, and building a really great body of work between them.
Rory, as always, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Sir.